it's iRacing commentator David Haynes. In 2019, I'm excited to be bringing coverage of the ChampCar Sim Series, the sim racing division of the ChampCar Endurance Series. Contested across 15 championship rounds using the 2015 Mazda MX-5, the winners will receive a free entry into a real ChampCar Endurance Series race in the 2020 season. Each points round will be broadcast live by HJBC. Head to forum.champcar.org for full information and schedule. Sign-ups are open, so get registered now. Best of luck, and I'll see you at the track.
Shut up and sit down.
For the third time this season, the ChampCar Sim Series comes to Virginia International Raceway. We've driven the South Course earlier in the year, we've driven the full course earlier, and now it's time for VIR North configuration. There's been some changes to this car since last round. The Mazda Miata Cup car of 2015 specification is now on new iRacing tyre model V7 tyres. The grip is not what it was on the old tyres. These cars are more of a challenge than they have ever been, but from all accounts they are a little more realistic to some of the grip levels we might experience in ChampCar in the real world. So with all that said, for the penultimate round of the championship, qualifying is underway with a minute and a half still to go before we get to our typical race format of 1 hour race with a required pit stop. Fixed setup with 4.2 gallons of fuel to start the race means everyone is going to need to take on board some fuel during this race. The way the tyre warm-up works on these new tyres, we do not expect many drivers to take a cold set of tyres in the middle of this race. So for our broadcast, our producer is Michael Derby, I am David Haynes, and joining me once again is going to be Aaron Thacker. And Aaron, looking forward to this race?
You bet I am. I'm so glad you mentioned this new tire model. I think a lot of people are trying to figure this thing out. What does the warm-up time feel like? How quickly does the tire come in or not come in? And with the temperature conditions they're dealing with tonight, David, my goodness, that warm-up is going to be extremely important. And I think you hit it tonight. These guys are not going to be wanting to put on a set of cold ones. And we got 30 seconds left in this session. And John D. Allen, David, he's on top, and we seem to see him quite a bit.
Yeah, he certainly wrapped his head around these new construction of tires faster than some of the other drivers, and as you point out right now, he's at the top of the timing sheet. Alex Albert in second, Brandon Schoen got third at the moment there, and Alexander Bueller in fourth. Only a couple of seconds left for drivers to start a flying lap, and there's a couple of drivers out there. David Evans is on a lap, he's in sixth and looking to improve. Justin Hall could definitely improve from seventh as well. Knisley and Beenan out on circuit, same for Jared Douglas, Paul Roddy and Michael Ogren. I'm seeing 15 cars for this round 14 of ChampCar Sim Series, sim racing division of the ChampCar Endurance Series. So I think that's definitely going to set us up for some good racing, some interesting racing as well, because well, we've had plenty of practice time and we're getting towards the end of 1 hour of qualifying. His tyres are still a little bit of an unknown.
Yeah, definitely a bit of an unknown. So the session is closed here. There's just under 2 minutes left. So if you're on track, some of these guys are looking to turn some laps. Like we have Justin Hall out there still trying to turn a lap. Chris Knisley as well, and Jacob Abina. But David, right now, I think our top three are probably going to be set. John D. Allen, Alex Albert, and Brandon Schoen with that fast lap on track of John D. Allen at a 1:42 dead, and Alex Albert 9/10 behind that. So a very quick lap by Mr. John D. Allen. So we're going to see a good one here tonight. Yeah, just over a minute 20 here. But David, let's talk about some of this fog. I love it. Some of the realism with some of the weather at this part of the region. This is probably some very accurate weather currently. I think the temperature may be a bit toasty for the season here in VIR, considering the fact it is the early part of December, but some pretty realistic weather for what we're probably seeing in real life right now.
Yeah, there's also been some slight adjustments within iRacing to how the fog is rendered. It looks like it's a little bit thicker at ground level, a little bit lighter higher up, and you can also see some of the dew, some of the frost that forms on the grass. And some of the drivers have told me as well that the grass is a lot less grippy than it used to be. Not that there was ever a lot of grip out on the grass, but now you really want to avoid putting two tires on the grass. You want to avoid running out over the grass on the exit of some of the corners, because you will not be able to keep the throttle pinned, and if you do, you'll go for a spin, go for a loop. So you do want to make sure more than ever that you keep the car on circuit. It's a bit of a death sentence to end up on the grass, and for a lot of this circuit, the barriers aren't that close. I've still seen drivers be able to find them, because once you're out on that grass, there's no getting the car stopped now.
No, dare we say they added more realism to the grass, and yeah, we're seeing some of that low level fog being placed on the track, and yeah, some of that dew. So yeah, it is going to be slippery out there. So we may see some exciting off tracks, and who can really basically dirt track it on there with some of this. But it looks like qualifying is closed up, and our field is going to be gridding. David, how does our grid look right now?
There's no change at the top of the order. The front row is going to be John D. Allen and Alex Albert, our two title rivals. To my knowledge, the only two men who can grab the championship at this point. It is down to between those two. But then the next row is Brandon Schoen and Alexander Bueller. And from 5th and 6th is James Patak and David Evans. Justin Hall in 7th. Tyler James in 8th. Chris Knisley in 10th. Chris Knisley in 9th, Jacob Beenan in 10th, Christopher Flamion in 11th there, Jared Douglas in 12th, Michael Ogren in 13th, Paul T. Roddy in 14th, and I don't know if we saw a qualifying time from Kiri Morris, but they will start from 15th on the grid.
Yeah, very competitive group. You mentioned the championship implications there between John D. Allen and Alex Albert. We've seen so many battles between these two, but I'm a little worried about Alex Albert's pace. I mean, he is almost a full second behind on John D. Allen. Maybe John D. Allen is a little more comfortable with this new iRacing tire that has given us just about 48 hours worth of testing. But never count out Alex Albert. He is not always the best starter, but my goodness, he can sometimes really pull through on the end here. So we're likely going to be seeing a pretty exciting turn one with these two.
Yep, turn one's exciting here regardless, but these two starting side by side will be something. You can see on the second row, Alexander Bueller trying to warm up his tyres on this pace lap. And we are going to do a full pace lap behind the Porsche safety car here on the VIR North configuration. I think that might actually be important, how you prepare the tyres on this formation lap before we get racing on this pace lap. See, and the qualifying pace, we talked about that deficit between our two drivers on the front row. It really might not be so pronounced or the same in race conditions. Certainly, preparing the tyres for one quick qualifying lap is different to how you treat them for a 1 hour race. So I still wouldn't rule anything out, and Alex Albert can maybe be a bit tricky with the fuel drop. If he gets a perfect pit stop and there's any problems for John D. Allen, there's certainly still opportunity there.
Yeah, there definitely is. And David, I want to quickly call out car number 7, Jared Douglas, who was qualified P12. We mentioned warming up those tires. These tires are a bit different warming up. David, he is spun on the pace lap, and he is doing his best to catch back up to the field before these guys catch the green flag.
Yeah, we'll see where he can get back to, but indeed, obviously, stone cold tires. A little bit unpredictable. The limit of grip is hard to determine. He's just about going to catch up to the field again before we get racing, but he's learnt a lesson before we've even seen the green flag about how tough these cold tires can be. And once we get racing speed in a very short amount of time, there's a lot of these other drivers that can have to learn about how to race wheel to wheel with tires that are just so cold at the start of the race like that. So I think Jared Douglas has caught the field. They're coming through the final corner, through the hog pen. Then the safety car is going to pull away. We're going to get racing for 60 minutes in the Champ Car Sim Series. We're all formed up 2x2 here at VIR North. Pace car comes in, and John D. Allen plants the throttle. We are racing down towards turn 1, and it's a very even start. And Brandon Schoen out of third has a good run as well.
Yeah, Brendan Jones going to stick his door panel side by side with Alex Albert, likely looking to steal a spot early here. They continue to be door to door here. Alex Albert likely not going to give him any room, no reprieve on the outside there, but Alex Albert is going to have the preferred line going into this next sector. So Brendan Schoen, if he's smart, I'd back out. Yeah, he's tapping the brakes there, but he's going to drop in single file. This first group here is clean through.
Indeed, now very close for the lead because John D. Allen's had a bit of a slide through NASCAR and left hook. And he has another little bit of a slide. That tail, very, very happy to be wagging out there. And so the battle for the lead remains very close. John D. Allen, Alex Albert, Brandon Schoen, the order they qualified in. Alexander Bueller there as well. But Justin Hall has been one of our big movers. He's up into 5th now. Chris Knisley is up into 6th as well. So the top 4 racing very closely, staying in the order they started, but a bit of movement behind John D. Allen, big slide. He's going to lose the lead coming uphill onto the connecting section that shortens the VIR North course. On those cold tires, he just pushed it too hard, and he has lost 2 positions. Albert is through into the lead. Schoen has come on through as well, and Bueller and Justin Hall are now right behind him as well. So while he qualified very well, those new tires, those cold tires, difficult to predict on the first lap of the race.
Yeah, my goodness, he really just, I want to say he missed his braking point going into that very difficult right-hander uphill. He just got in too deep, a little bit too much trail braking. There was just he saved it, but just almost no chance to save that. Very smart driving by Alex Albert and Brandon Schoen to make a clean pass. But yeah, John D. Allen, just one lap into this race, has found himself from pole position in P3. So he's got a bit of work to do, but there's plenty of time left in this race. Doing a quick check of the timing and scoring here. Yeah, looks like our big winner on this opening lap is Michael Ogren. Michael Ogren is
what is on your mind?
Excuse me. Michael Ogren is up 5 spots up to PA, so a really good start as watching a battle for the front again.
Yeah, Schoen got a great run down the pit straight, tried to put it down the inside of Alex Albert. Albert held on, but now they're going to fight once again. And really, whoever's in the lead looks like they have no grip because they are not breaking away from the field whatsoever. I think when you got those cold tires and the pressure on you, it's so easy to overdrive them. When the tires are cold and you overdrive them, then past the limit, there is no grip whatsoever. So Albert will still just hold on to the lead, but he is not getting away from Brandon Schoen. John D. Allen still with these guys. Alexander Bueller in 4th, just watching the action.
Yeah, they're just watching as I'm going to be keeping an eye on. Yeah, Michael Ogren has picked up another spot, David. So he's up to P7. So we're going to keep an eye on timing and scoring on this back group. But yeah, this is really exciting up front. Brandon Schoen, watching him where he's taking maybe even some different lines than Alex Albert. Alex Albert is trying very aggressively right now. We saw that may not be a benefit with John D. Allen with his almost spin, but it looks like Alex Albert, cold tires, he may be preferring this right now because he's working himself a bit of a gap. He's got almost half a second crossing start finish here on finishing up lap 2.
Yep, indeed. But down the long pit straight, Schoen will close a little bit. The slipstream once they're into 5th gear really does help in these cars that don't have a whole lot of horsepower, especially relative to their weight. So top 4, nothing's going to separate them, but Michael Ogren is into the pit lane because he's had some issues and maybe again just pushing a little bit too hard too early.
Yeah, wondering a bit. Yeah, he may have got his tires hot. John D. Allen has definitely cooled his tires down. But let's not forget the car in P4, Alexander Bueller. He is very good on some of these slippery tire situations, some of these slippery cars. This is not exactly a car where you can drive with the throttle. It's very much a momentum car. But Alexander Bueller showing that he can keep up with these guys. Was watching Brandon Schoen again. This is really a preferred spot for him. He might make a pass.
Yeah, he's very brave to go up the inside there on this corner that's tighter than it feels like uphill, and we've seen very, very tricky corner indeed. 4 pack of cars for the lead is definitely where a lot of the excitement is right now. Isley's along in 5th, a little bit further back. Brandon Schoen's looking for weird places to try and get a move done on Alex Albert through the roller coaster that you have a different entry to on this circuit. That feels a bit weird the first couple of times, but you get used to it. He's looking very close through there, but we're about through Hog Pen. I don't think Brandon Schoen's got the run he wanted out of there that time. John D. Allen might try and grab him down the pit straight here. I think he's definitely in a position to be able to maybe make a dive down the inside of turn 1.
Yeah, Brandon Schoen wasn't doing himself any favors by kind of giving some very interesting looks into Alex Albert in some of those twisty sections. He was trying to give him the old Jeff Tyler, and I don't know if that was to his benefit as we watched Alex Albert really kind of walk away on the straightaway there. But Brandon Schoen, he's able to hold off John D. Allen into turn 1, but I think John D. Allen's probably going to get the job done here. He does not have the preferred line. Yeah, he's going to ease up on the brakes and, yeah, let him by. But let's not forget, as we watch Alexander Bueller dive inside car number 17, Brandon Schoen may lose 2 here. No, I think he's going to hold off. Quick call out, John D. Allen is now taking fast lap of the race with a 142.8. That is 2 seconds slower than our pole lap. And David, we have a car in the dew grass out there. Who is that?
I think that's Michael Ogren off course there and facing the wrong way. See if he gets it going again. I think he has, but he has had a very interesting start to the race, going up a couple of positions and then having to make a pit stop, losing a couple more as well. So this battle that we saw at a second place, where Brandon Schoen was not going to give it up. Eventually, after a couple of corners, John D. Allen got through, but it's let Albert break away in the lead to the tune of about 1.2 seconds. I'm not sure Brandon Schoen did himself too many favors, fighting as hard as he did for as long as he did there. We'll see. Bueller still in 4th, still watching, still waiting.
Yeah, definitely some patient driving by Alexander Bueller. I think you see these guys being pretty aggressive up here, but it looks like I believe they have all calmed down a little bit on entering lap 5 here. It's 52 minutes left in this race. Time to settle down, and lots of racing left. Track temperature is still the same, so the tires are probably feeling pretty good right now. Probably a little more what they're used to. So let's watch him go through this section. John D. Allen has been very good through the twisties. Brandon Schoen still trying to find his optimal line. You watch his brake lights. He's doing a lot of work with that left foot, tapping the brakes, trying to get the car to settle. As you watch him kind of almost drift into some of these sections where you watch John D. Allen looks a lot more planted.
So we're going to ride on board now Brandon Schoen in 3rd place, because he's looking at John D. Allen once again, and we haven't seen anyone really pull off a clean move into this corner that takes us onto the north course, the connecting shortened section. 3 cars in train here, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and I think making a move has gotten harder when the confidence in the tires is like it is for these drivers on these new sets of tires, this new construction. So we're not seeing maybe as much battling, as much back and forth as we did in previous days, but the drivers who don't slide the tires too much early might find they have more grip later in the race. I don't think many of these drivers will have done a full 1 hour on a set of tires yet. So I think from all accounts of similar tires on other cars, that just driving them 95% earlier in the race might pay off a little bit later on.
Yeah, I definitely think I definitely think you're right. As we watch John D. Allen get right up on the bumper of Alex Albert, he was almost a full second behind him on that last lap, but he's really made up some time towards the end here. I want to keep talking about this tire. You know, the Mazda is not too abusive on this tire. This is, you know, David, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe this is a street legal tire that these guys are running in this race. So, gonna have some good life on these. But as we talk about, you know, the tire is going to heat up a little better and possibly maintain that heat, and even control some slides better with a little more responsive sidewall behavior. I think with this new tire model, which I think these guys are again still trying to figure out. And a lot of people are trying to figure out. But you make a great point that I don't believe any of these guys have driven longer than maybe 20, 30 minutes on this tire. So where this tire is and what it's going to feel like 45 minutes into this race, I really think that's an unknown for everybody.
Yeah, so, well, we've got a great battle for the lead. There's also another little battle forming up over 5th place where Chris Knisley had gotten past Justin Hall but doesn't seem to be able to shake him, and David Evans is in the picture there as well. So any mistake or anything from these two in front of him, and Evans could maybe pounce. Justin Hall, though, is trying to put the pressure onto Chris Knisley there. So great battle for those guys.
Yeah, good battle indeed. Justin Hall's fast lap is a full second faster than Chris Knisley, so not entirely sure when he pulled that lap, but Justin Hall is pretty...
John D. Allen down the inside of Alex Albert towards turn 1. I think Allen got a much better run off Hogpen. He goes very deep on the brakes into that first turn, and Albert thinks about coming back underneath him. And just so that is Allen through into the lead. Let's let Schoen and Bueller close up very tight as well. So there we go, a move at the front of the field.
Yeah, moving the fields. We watch Alex Albert dip his tires into that very cold and wet grass. No real moment there. But yeah, John D. Allen, very confident move out of the final corner. Got a nice pull down the front stretch and a very clinical move into turn 1 and made a great pass. I think he's really going to be looking to take advantage of some of that speed he's feeling right now and possibly break away. But Brandon Schoen, he's shown to be competitive early on this race. So if he can occupy Alex Albert, John D. Allen will be the benefactor of that. So again, these guys continue to stay very close, and it looks like that gap between Chris Knisley and Justin Hall has separated out just a little bit. Justin Hall now has about a half a second behind her. So the best action on the track remains with this top 3 group.
Yeah, indeed. So Allen leading just ahead of Albert, and any of these guys could pit now and make it to the end. We don't expect to see them until a little bit deeper in the race. Like we say, a fixed setup here means that every team and every driver is starting with 4.2 gallons of fuel. You can pit basically on the first lap to be able to take enough fuel to get to the end. So pit window, in essence, is open at this point. We probably think that the drivers who go as long as they can might get 35 minutes or so on that starting fuel. So we won't see many drivers go much longer than that, but they could come in earlier than that if they so wished. No one wants to do that just yet, but knowing what we know with the new tires, we'll see if that affects when anyone thinks they want to take their fuel. Knisley must have had a bit of an issue though, because Justin Hall has gone back through up into 5th.
Yeah, there must have been an issue there, David. I will go back and try and find out what it actually...
Pretty clean move into turn 1, I think it was. I think Knisley's gone just a little bit too deep into 1. Hall's gone up the inside and completed the move. And that battle for 5th place is not done yet.
Yeah, no, you are definitely right, and yeah, we're going to continue to watch those battles. Yeah, we watched David Evans is now getting himself up in the mix, getting right behind Chris Knisley there. So this group here, the top 3 group, and then Justin Hall, Chris Knisley, and David Evans. These guys are also feeling pretty racy. Yeah, I think we're all a bit unsure. We're talking about the tires a lot, but this is extremely important to how these cars behave, and I think this is a very equal playing field in terms of everybody's trying to figure this tire out. I think, you know, this is a good car and a good combination to learn what that tire is going to do. Imagine, you know, some of the other faster cars in the circuit. You know, maybe some of the GT3s, or maybe even some of the those GT high horsepower GT1 cars. You know, that is not a car you're going to want to learn some of that on. As you watch, David Evans is going to make a move here on Chris Knisley on the front stretch. He's got him across the start finish, and David, he's going to get this done before turn one.
Yeah, Knisley just didn't get that drive off of the final corner, off of the hog pen that maybe he was looking for. I think that's a corner that's definitely gotten more difficult, because as you bounce down the hill there and as you jump over the curb, when the car isn't completely settled, that's one of the times that this construction of tyre is very, very difficult to be smooth, to keep the car pointing the right way. So it's just gotten more difficult in those kind of sections of the course where you're jumping over the curbs and the car isn't completely smooth, completely planted. As we know, of course, VIR, a circuit with plenty of elevation change, plenty of ascending and descending corners, and plenty of places where you might want to grab a little bit of the curb as well. Got first, I think, regular pit taker in the form of Jared Douglas, who's on the pit lane. He might have found a little bit of damage he needs to get repaired, and also going to grab his fuel while he's doing it.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Let's keep an eye on what that pit time looks like for him, because I think we're going to be really studying this here. And David, I'm getting a bit of a hiccup on my timing and scoring, so I'll let you keep an eye on that for me. But yeah, the battle up front continues to remain about the same as we watch Brandon Schoen get a bit of a better run on Alex Albert. But my goodness, John D. Allen is doing some pretty good work on creating that gap, as it is now 1.7 seconds going into turn one. But he is about to encounter our first batch of lap traffic.
Yes, indeed, he will. So Allen breaking away a tiny bit in the lead. Albert and Schoen battling over second place once again. I think Schoen tried to get down the inside of turn one, but Albert has the inside for this consecutive section of left-handers here, where it's proved difficult to get a move done. So I think Albert has that for right now. The update on Jared Douglas is he got some damage repaired, but he also took a new set of tyres, and then I think on that cold set of tyres, he's found the barrier somewhere, because he's in the pit lane for a second time and on the tow hook. So yeah, taking the set of tyres definitely not the preferred way in these races now. Will our leaders get past the traffic with no dramas? That was Jacob Beenan, who very, very politely pulled off the racing line and let everyone through uninterrupted.
Very polite indeed, as we watch Alexander Buehler get probably the closest he's been in a couple laps here, right up on Brandon Schoen. So this group here is getting very tight. I don't want to say Alex Albert is the cork in the bottle. I think Brandon Schoen is probably pushing pretty hard, and I think Alexander Buehler is pushing equally hard. But Alex Albert continues to not be the strongest out of this, but he gets a really good run that time. Really planted the left side tires in a very strong run. And David, that was a fantastic run. Brandon Schoen's going to have no chance to make a look into turn one here.
No, he's definitely not close enough right now. So the leader getting away a little bit. Car's battling over second place. Car's battling over fifth place. So we've had 27 minutes or so of racing, but on the exit of turn one, Albert, we said this earlier, two tires on the grass, couldn't get the power down. That's cost him quite a lot. Schoen is through into second. Albert will just hold off Buehler, but through turn one, he just pushed a little bit wide, got a little bit of tires on the grass, and then that really, really cost his exit.
Yeah, it definitely did. So Alex Albert unfortunately had some very strong early laps, and just kind of has been falling by the wayside here. But don't count him out.
Had a similar issue. He was leading that train of Knisley and Evans, and into turn one, he's gone a little bit too wide out on the grass, cost him 2 spots, cost him a bunch of time. So I think as they're wearing into the tires and warming them up, I think a lot of drivers suffering with some understeer, especially in turn one.
Yeah, some understeer indeed. I think we should yeah, we should kind of monitoring some of these guys different lines. We watched Alex Albert, light the rear tires up a little bit. Brandon Schoen, we saw him kind of setting some lines as well. But I think both of these guys are trying to figure out what's going to feel the best for them. I'm still very interested in some of the left foot braking behavior by Brandon Schoen. He's really using that to almost plant the car. I don't know if that technique works with this car, David, to you kind of tap that front brake. I feel like it's more feel and momentum, but he is very busy on that that brake pedal, Brandon Schoen, in some of these twisty, faster sectors.
Let's see if we can get some Morse code out of those brake lights, but Schoen will just keep it ahead of Alex Albert to turn on this time. But there's a problem there for Schoen. He goes wide. Albert and Bueller through. Did you quite catch what happened there? It really just looked like he I know stood on the brake pedal.
Yeah, Brandon showed he just went wide. Alex Albert, I want to say he gave him the old Jeff Tyler. He got a bit scared, and he just couldn't quite get the car to turn. And then on the exit there, he would have swung that exit nice and wide, but he dropped 2 tires on there, and that allowed Alexander Bueller to get by. So this is the first time we're going to see Alexander Bueller be able to compete with Alex Albert. We've seen him compete with Brandon Schoen in a passive manner, but I think Alexander Bueller would really like to get himself one more spot right at 40 minutes left in this race.
I didn't catch it, but Evans has gotten through on Knisley for 5th place, and so that battle continues. And Justin Hall, who had his error earlier, wants to capitalize as well. Puts the pressure on Knisley through the long uphill corner. Great battle there, Evans, Knisley, and Hall. I think Evans is going to be under pressure into the roller coaster this time. This connecting section here, lots of S's, lots of little hills, lots of inclines there. If you get off the proper racing line, you're really going to struggle. It's sort of one thread through that particular section. Knisley got it just a little bit better than Evans. He's not cracking under the pressure just yet. What about their drive off the hog pen? I think Knisley has it just slightly better.
Yeah, I think he does. And Justin Hall is looking to be the benefactor of that tow that Chris Knisley's getting on David Evans. He's going to have some very good speed entering this turn 1, but this is not going to be an opportunity for pass for him, but maybe a little bit of gaining work he's doing there. When we watch, David Evans goes very wide, and here comes Chris Knisley looking to take an opportunity, and Justin Hall is looking to sneak in there too. So David Evans, that was a bit of a mess of a turn 1, and he could potentially lose 2 spots, but I think he's going to slot in here, and yeah, he's going to go ahead and protect that P6 as we watch Justin Hall possibly give it one more look into this very tight horseshoe section. And no, he's okay. So these boys have settled down now. David Evans with a pretty sloppy turn 1 and managed to salvage, losing just 1 spot.
Definitely the hardest braking zone on the lap in this configuration on VIR North. About the top of 5th gear approaching the braking zone, and some of these guys dropping it down into 2nd because it's a tight enough corner for that. And I think if you're getting just a little bit too hot and you're asking a bit too much of the braking at the point you're also starting to turn in, I think it's very possible to overload those front tires. It's where these guys run out of grip at the front. We see them push out a little bit wide and lose all of their momentum as well. So Knisley has 5th, but I think Evans will have learned from that and might try and come back at him as well. These two have been fighting basically the whole race long, with Justin Hall around and about in the picture as well.
Yeah, he is. As we watch David Evans really, really working Chris Knisley here. I don't know if he should have pulled out that early, but I think he's got a really good run. So David Evans lost it in turn 1 on the last lap. He's looking to recoup it. He will cross timing and scoring at the start-finish line in P5. So according to the scoreboard, David, he never lost that spot. So fine work by David Evans, working hard and getting that spot back on that lap, and a little more tidy this time around, but still not a great turn 1 for David Evans.
Yeah, and from behind them, Justin Hall dove into pit lane, past tense, something. So he's going to be the first of our regular stops, and we've seen him do that in previous rounds as well. He likes to do something a little bit different. So what is the pit stop time from him? It's getting out towards 30 seconds or so. 28.9 is the number I see. That's longer than what we've seen in a lot of other races where we've expected around 20 seconds or so. Although Justin Hall does like to be a bit more conservative with the fuel number. That cost him quite a little bit at Barber, I think.
Yeah, we have seen some interesting and wide-ranging fuel strategies in this Miata. This is a car where, if there's an opportunity to do some savings, you can sneak out maybe an extra lap on there, but that requires some very consistent and very diligent lifting, coasting, and also finding yourself a nice drafting partner as we keep an eye on timing scoring to see if anybody else is going to sneak in. I'm going to ask our producer to quickly go up to John D. Allen. Yeah, John D. Allen. We got Dave. We have somebody else in the pits.
Brandon Schoen into the pit lane as well, so he's going to try something else and maybe hope that he can maybe undercut in a way Alex Albert and Alexander Bueller.
Yeah, so as I was saying before, we had to call it the quick picks up. Yeah, John D. Allen is just being extremely quick. I am keeping an eye on some sector times. Oh, we have David Evans is off in turn one. David, it has got him again. David Evans in P5. Chris Nisley has gone by. It has bit him again. I think he's just braking too late. Yeah, David, the car just pushed completely out from under him. The tires just did not grip. Gets to that very, very slippery grass, and David Evans has dropped down to P5.
Looks like you have to be very careful on trying to turn the car in while you're also braking. So I think that's the problem there. A little bit too hot, and he still tried to turn it in, and it's just plowed off towards the grass. That's cost Evans quite a bit of time to Chris Nisley. In the end, it might cost him to Justin Hall as well. Depends. We'll see how that shakes out after all the pit stops, which we're probably right in the window for that now, seeing as it's 5 minutes to the halfway point. And then drivers will only be able to go about 5 minutes longer than that then. So that's sort of our 10-minute window right now. John D. Allen in the lead. He's lead of 4 seconds. He hasn't pitted yet. And Albert and Bueller, what will they do? Still running along in second place.
Yeah, they are. We've seen Bueller. We do enjoy watching Alexander Bueller in the RAL series, as he is a regular competitor out there. He's also a man who can go pretty far on some fuel runs. I do want to do a quick call out to some pit. Oh, David, we have Chris Nisley off. Chris Nisley is off track. I think he may be going into the pits. Yes, he's going to do that. So he's going to take advantage of this very big off track, off that final corner there, and take his pit stop.
He's a little bit wide in hog pen, 2 tires on the grass, and then the car got all kinds of wobbly. He loses the position out to David Evans and decides now's a good time to come into pit lane then. I think Nisley might have been distracted by the lapped car in front of him that he was approaching. He's messed up his line through hog pen a little bit. And you've got to have a lot of respect for that grass. So he's put 2 tires on it, and the car has immediately gotten right out of shape. Pit stop time for Nisley will be interesting to see. Brandon Schoen's pit stop time was 29 seconds. Nisley also looking at about that much time as well. So long pit stops for a lot of drivers.
Yeah, long pit stops. It looks like, that 29 dead, 29.2, 29.5 by Chris Nisley. So it looks like that's going to be our magic number for this. So anybody that's going to try and short fill, we may see them sneak out a second earlier, maybe half a second earlier. I want to go back to the incident with Chris Nisley. I don't feel like he messed up that last corner. He's taken the line that every other car is taking, giving a kiss to that inside curb, bouncing the car a little bit, planting it. But yeah, he just couldn't get the thing to plant on that left side tires. Maybe we are seeing a bit of wear at this point, and we're starting to see some of these guys maybe deal with this new tire model, and maybe it's wearing down a little faster than what we thought. But I wasn't anticipating that much wear. But yeah, Chris Nisley really had a hard time with that. But hey, it turned into a pit stop, so I think he's okay. But he's now going to have to deal with Paul T. Roddy and Justin Hall right in front of them, and these guys are battling for position.
What he's got in front of him is Michael Ogren, who is a couple laps down, and Paul T. Roddy, who was just trying to make his way through them as well. So this pit stop has put Nisley into a weird place on circuit. it's not necessarily going to help him out too much. But the guy he was battling, David Evans, reacts and also jumps into pit lane. So about 1 lap away from the halfway point of the race. So where Evans comes out relative to Knisley is going to be important. I think Evans might just have it. Poor Roddy makes the mistake that Chris Knisley made about a lap ago. Just a little bit too wide out of hog pen, and a lot of the guys struggling for, I think, grip on the front tires through some of the really loaded corners like turn 1 and through there as well. Evans comes out of his pit stop just a couple seconds ahead of Chris Knisley. So Evans holds on in that battle for what might shake out being about 5th place or so.
And it looks like we have 2 pitters. We have Alex Albert and Alexander Bueller both in. I am really concerned that Alex Albert may get a speeding in the pits penalty. My goodness, did he come in fast, and he was braking really, really hard. I'm going to watch this again. Yeah, David, he hit the cone too. I think Alex Albert may have a speeding penalty. That would be an absolute disaster for him. We'll have to keep an eye on what he does on track if he has to come back in. But it could, my goodness, did he come in hot.
Always a risk if you're speeding in pit lane to get a 15-second stop and hold, especially if that's if you're too hot on your way to your pit stall. If you speed on your way out of the pit stall, you're going to have to come into the pit lane again. No dramas there, I don't think, for Alex Albert. 28.4 seconds and away he goes. So I don't know what's changed, but the pit stop's definitely a little bit slower, taking a little bit longer than in previous rounds. Maybe it's a bit cold for the refuelers.
And so I was watching Alex Albert's pit stop at Alexander Bueller. I did not see the car go up on the jack, so I don't believe they took tires. But however, when I watched David Evans do his pit stop exactly 1 lap ago, he went up on the jacks and took new tires. So this is really interesting that David Evans took fuel and took tires. I think because so little fuel is going into the car, the crew had chance to work. So let's keep an eye on David Evans in P6. But I did see him take tires.
I mentioned he was a couple seconds ahead of Chris Knisley. That's changed. Those two are about a second apart now. John D. Allen from the lead is on the pit lane. This is an important pit stop for him. He had a lead of maybe 5 or 6 seconds or so. He needs this pit stop to be perfect if he's going to retain the lead.
Yeah,
watching
Alex.
him, not seeing any now I'm seeing the jacks for John D. Allen, so he's going to take a set of tires. Albert and Bueller didn't. Our leader, John D. Allen, looks like he is. I've definitely seen the left side of the car get raised up. Here goes the right-hand side as well. So I think the first 2 or 3 laps, John D. Allen will be vulnerable, but the remainder of the race might be the right call. Obviously, the cold tires are difficult, but it seems like the end of the stint also rather difficult for a lot of the guys as well. So 29.1 seconds for John D. Allen. He's going to come out and end up about 3 seconds in front of Alex Albert. If Allen loses that much time trying to warm those tires up, we'll see how that works.
Yeah, we're definitely going to keep a close eye on his outlap here. I'm going to be watching some of his sector times. But yeah, this is going to be some interesting strategy. So we've seen John D., at least what we've seen on camera, we've seen John D. Allen take tires, and I observed David Evans in P6 take tires. So we're going to continue to watch some of these lap times. But John D. Allen does still own the fast lap of the race, a 142.2. So watching sector times here right now, looks like, yeah, John D. Allen is pretty much keeping on par with Alex Albert. So he may have, his pit crew may have had some tires sitting in a warm car in the paddock there. But my goodness, it doesn't look like he's having any warming issues on these tires at all, because he remains pretty darn quick on track.
Yeah, first couple of sectors, I think Allen's lost about half a second or so, but at the rate that's going, he'll have those tires up to temperature well before Albert actually catches him. And having seen some of the other drivers really start to struggle with the front tires deeper into a stint, I think this is going to play to Allen's advantage in about 2 or 3 laps time. Albert might still be struggling, and John D. Allen will have brought those tires back into their sweet spot.
Yeah, he definitely has. Doing a quick glance, speaking of our pit stops, the only car on track that has opted not to take a pit stop yet is car number 3 in P8, Jacob Beenan. He is not pitted yet. He is on almost 18 lap old tires, and just as I say that, he dives into the pit lane. So that completes our field for our pit cycles for this race. We got just over 26 minutes left to go, and we're watching Alex Albert working pretty hard to catch back up to John D. Allen, but I worry that those tires are getting in a good place on John D. Allen. That's some fresh rubber where Alex Albert does not.
Yep, so our top 4 that was an inseparable pack is now Allen 3 seconds in front of Albert. Albert had a bit of a quicker pit stop than Alexander Bueller, so there's about a second and a half there, and Brandon Schoen is then 3 seconds or so back off Alexander Bueller. So Schoen, by pitting a little bit earlier, is kind of faded a little bit out of this picture for the podium. Having said that, now everyone's pitted. Justin Hall, his pit stop time, in hindsight, looks like he absolutely nailed it, because he's in 5th, and with about 5 seconds over David Evans and Chris Knisley, who we both saw have some significant off-roading adventures. So Justin Hall in a little bit of a no man's land there for 5th place, but having pitted early, finding some clean air, maybe that's just helped him find his rhythm. I think it's worked for him.
Yeah, I think it has. We're gonna watching John D. Allen across the start-finish line here. I feel like this is a pretty quick lap. He's got some very speedy sector times. He bested Alex Albert in almost every single sector. So let's see what this lap as he crosses start-finish here. A 1:42.9. So that is 7/10 off his best. But yeah, that is a very quick. And watch Alex Albert cross the 1:43.3. So David, I think that John D. Allen, though not a popular call, but I feel like he may have made a very good call taking tires, because he is several tenths ahead of Alex Albert, and Alex Albert is just going to continue to wear on those tires, where John D. Allen has got a very fresh set with just under 24 minutes left in this race.
Tyler James is now 2 laps down. He tries to get out of the way of John D. Allen, but didn't quite give him the preferred line through left hook there. We'll see what happens when Albert and Bueller approach to try and put this driver another lap down. It's definitely cost Allen about half a second or so. It might definitely cost Albert similar, as he has to dive it down the inside. Bueller now the next driver to try and make his way through, but getting past someone is so difficult through this particular section. You've got to weave it through just one line. James pulls off the racing line and lets Alexander Bueller through, but definitely John D. Allen lost a lot more time to that than Alex Albert did. The gap is now down to 2.4 seconds.
Yeah, it is John D. Allen. Yeah, in sector 2 there, he was almost 5/10. He lost almost half a second in that sector there, navigating with that slower car. So Alex Albert, he needs a few more of those, but I just worry that there's not enough cars on track where he can take advantage of a few more of those. Still looking for some other battles on track, but looks like we're pretty spread out right now. Let's go a quick run through the field. So John D. Allen P1, Alex Albert P2, Alexander Bueller in P3. The first 2 are currently running in where they started. Brandon Schoen is down 1 spot from where he started P4. Justin Hall is up 2 spots. David Evans in P6, right where he started. Chris Knisley up 2 spots into P7. Michael Ogren still up 5 spots in P8. And Paul T. Roddy up 5 spots as well. And Jacob Beenan rounding out our top 10. So quite a few cars still on track. We're getting a little bit spread out here. 22 minutes left in this race. But I really think what's probably going to turn into is Alexander Bueller is likely going to catch up to Alex Albert, or Brandon Schoen is going to catch up to Bueller. So I think this top 4 group is going to be our best opportunity for some battles on track. But yeah, we're getting a little spread out right now, and I worry that John D. Allen is just going to continue getting stronger as those tires continue to come in for him.
Yeah, look, I think at this point on basically the 4th flying lap for John D. Allen, those tires are pretty much good to go in their sweet spot right now. What we are going to see potentially happen is Justin Hall's been struggling a couple laps in a row. David Evans has been catching him. Chris Knisley as well. I think it's been about 3 laps in a row that Evans has pulled a lap out of Justin Hall. I don't know, is that the tyres continuing to go away for Hall, or is he just lost some of his focus? I'm not sure, but at the moment, Evans is definitely looking stronger, definitely closing it in.
Yeah, so Justin Hall, yeah, watching some of his sector times here, yeah, he's sector 2 for him was pretty bad shape. As I got a little nervous there. I had a quick blip on my screen. Alexander Bueller quickly dropped down, but I think Alexander Bueller may be having some small connection issues. But David, watch out. John D. Allen has done 2 purple sectors on that last lap. And he has bested his fastest lap. So, David, he has set a new fast time of 140 dead, or excuse me, 142 dead. And that is our fastest lap of the race. So, yeah, you're definitely right. His tires are in the sweet spot because, wow, that is a quick lap.
It just about matches his qualifying time as well, which is rather impressive because the conditions haven't changed. He's got a new set of tyres, brought them in, and really asserted his dominance on that. The gap between Hall and Evans, Hall just did a 44 dead, Evans a 42.8, so 1.2 seconds that Evans managed to pull out of Justin Hall, and at that rate, by about the end of this lap, we'll be looking at a battle for 5th place there. So David Evans has really got his head down after his pit stop.
Yeah, he really does, and you know, he's focused on Justin Hall in front of him here, watching some sector time. So I love this corner right here. We watched John D. Allen give him some trouble here, but I just love what these guys do. They brake really hard, take a really late apex, clip that, and just bounce across that section right there. And you just really just want to hit a curb. You're just smashing curbs right here. This is such a fun section of the tracks, and then take that corner right there, and then heavy on the brakes here. I think of some of these guys, it's still a couple different lines there. Some guys will take a late apex, some guys will just eat up as much curb as they possibly can. And my goodness, David Evans absolutely nailed that sector because he is really closed up on Justin Hall here.
I think that's definitely one of the sectors where a fresh set of tyres might help you out, changing direction, left, right, trying to keep the car tight on the correct line through there. Evans, I don't think he's going to have quite the advantage he had on the previous lap, but still closes a couple of tenths more on Justin Hall, and crucially at about this point, he'll be within the draft, and he gets a good run through turn 1, even though I thought he was going to push a bit wide there. So Evans, just keep it smooth, keep it clean, and he'll close up further on Justin Hall.
Yeah, I worry every time I see David Evans go into turn 1. I feel like he's still battling the demons that he had to cope with about halfway through this race early on. But yeah, he just can't quite hit his braking point. He's not quite sure where he wants to. He doesn't quite have a mark on the outside under the corner. I feel like he knows where the apex is. But yeah, David Evans has had a heck of a time with turn 1s. We almost saw him bite into it there again. But we're coming up to the section that you mentioned earlier that these newer tires is really going to benefit him here. So watch him time right here. David Evans likely not having to lift as much as Justin Hall, if anybody's lifting at all. So good left turn here, hard right, getting a good by Justin Hall, swooping out just a little bit. He probably had to lift right there, and watch David Evans close up really nice. And David, I think he's going to have a fantastic run onto the front straight here.
Yeah, precisely. That's what he needs. Smooth out of the hog pen, pick up the throttle at the right time, not too early. So see, what about here? He takes a good sweeping entry. Hall gets a little bit of grass, I think, on the outside there. And indeed, he's off, and David Evans through into 5th. It's Justin Hall. The pressure got to him there, and David Evans set up the perfect exit, and in the end had an open door to walk through into 5th place.
That was some very good driving by Justin Hall. Yeah, he just missed the apex just a little bit coming out of hog pen there. Didn't quite get enough curb. Couldn't get the car turned. The left rear tire actually dropped into the grass, got him just loose enough, and he probably had to saw on the wheel quite a little bit. Took a bit of adventure in the grass, but he has settled back in. He's only lost just over a second, so I think he's probably going to come back here pretty quick. We are sneaking up to the 16-minute mark left in this race. These guys have done quite a few laps, and this is probably going to be our best battle on track. Justin Hall and David Evans, both of these guys are feeling quick, but I worry that Justin Hall may be at a disadvantage with David Evans and those fresh tires. Yeah, he's only got 8 laps on those things.
Yep, indeed. Hall not giving up and had a reasonable run up the hill there, but Evans will surely be stronger through this section of the circuit. As you point out, 16 minutes to go. It's about 10 laps at the speed our leaders are doing. Of the 15 cars that were eligible to take the start, I think 11 are still running, and the last of them on the lead lap looks like it's probably Chris Knisley in 7th, but now David Evans has made the mistake that Hall made a lap ago. He's around, they make contact. Justin Hall had nowhere to go but to T-bone David Evans, who pushed too hard through the hog pen, got that grass and spun it around, and now Evans is going to jump onto the pit lane. Hall is going to continue. That's drama there. I thought David Evans had that one in the bag, but then he's made a little mistake. And then you also got to feel sorry for Justin Hall, who had nowhere to go but to T-bone that spinning car in front of him. Tough for both of those guys.
Yeah, I feel like David Evans had everything he needed in front of him, and yeah, nowhere for Justin Hall to go, and absolutely smashed into the right front end. The car wasn't crabbing, but I completely anticipate the right front of David Evans' car is likely unrepairable with the amount of time left in this race, because my goodness, was that a heavy impact and likely bent and probably broke a few suspension parts with that hit. So man, David Evans had a lot of opportunity in front of him, a potential good race. And David, I apologize, there's actually a fast repair, so David Evans has taken his fast repair and he is back on track.
Yeah, indeed, no service but fixing that car, so he'll come back out into 7th place. He's a lap ahead of Michael Ogren in 8th, but just maybe a little bit too far behind Chris Knisley in 6th to catch him. So Justin Hall, despite the damage on his nose, is going to continue and carry on. And see what kind of pace he does on this first flying lap since he's picked up that damage. But with about 9 laps to go, he might well be able to hold off Chris Knisley in 6th. Knisley has an opportunity here, though, because it's only a couple of seconds gap between them.
Yeah, I think he does have a chance. Let's stand David Evans here, but I don't think Justin Hall has any issues to worry about with cooling. I don't think these Mazda engines require a whole lot of cooling. I don't think these are going to explode. But David, I remember last time we called one of these races, and I think that was probably the most explodey VIR race that we have ever seen. There were cars blowing up left and right, so I don't want to jinx that, which I have done before. But I don't think Justin Hall is at risk of any blowing any engines. He gets a very good run on the front stretch here with the car in front of him. That is car number. But David. Excuse me, car number 719. So yeah, that is a lap car. Paul Tirati lets David Evans by. Get a nice pull there, but yeah, tough break for David Evans. Justin Hall pretty much handed 5th place, and I feel like unless he makes a mistake, that's going to be where he's likely going to finish tonight for a pretty good drive.
No doubt. So we watched this battle 5th and 6th. Last time around, Justin Hall, a little bit of damage, a little mistake. 46.9. Chris Knisley lapping a 44.2, pulled a couple of seconds out of him and looks set to maybe do that again on this lap. So Knisley, I think, has enough time to get Justin Hall in 5th. As for the top 4, they're all not closing in on each other whatsoever. John D. Allen pulling out a little bit further on Alex Albert, who's shook Alexander Bueller just a tiny bit, and Brandon Schoen hasn't been able to find anything to close in on the rest of them as well. So our top 4, who were very, very close earlier in the race, now just separating out a little bit after our round of pit stops. Knisley gets a good run through the hog pen, though, puts him just about within a second of Justin Hall. This time down the pit straight, he might just pick up a little bit of a draft.
Yeah, he might pick up a little bit of draft, and though these cars aren't, the most scientifically aerally designed, but Justin Hall likely going to be down maybe a few mphs with some of that damage there. Wasn't keeping an eye on speeds, but yeah, Chris Nicely made some very good time, and he's now taking that gap down to 8/10. So this is a very good battle. Again, quickly reporting up front again, we are not missing any action. John D. Allen has pulled almost a 10.5 second gap, and I really think those tires are shining at this point. He's consistently doing mid 142s. Alex Albert on that last lap was a 144, so I think that call to take tires was a winning formula for John D. Allen, where Alex Albert continues to struggle to continue to put down some quick laps. But this bet between Chris Nicely and Justin Hall, this is a good one to watch, as we're watching Chris Nicely come up on a section where I think Justin Hall isn't quite his quickest, and entering a final sector where Justin Hall is likely down a few miles per hour. So Chris Nicely, maybe another opportunity coming into turn one here if you can set it up.
Yeah, certainly. It's uphill left and then uphill right, and then drops away a little bit, and then there's another right and another left. And certainly if Knisley's got a bit more grip, he'd be able to keep the throttle open more through that section, carry more momentum. He definitely gets to the apex well in roller coaster. It's all about Hogpen, where we've seen plenty of drivers make a mistake or two. It is a difficult section, braking downhill, lots of curves. Does Justin Hall keep it on the bitumen, on the paved stuff? Yes, he does. So does Chris Knisley. So who has the better run off there? Certainly might be pretty even between them. Hall has seen someone's closing up on him, and I think he's figuratively found an extra gear, but I'm not sure for how long he can sustain the pressure.
Yeah, sustain the pressure indeed. At the very end, before both of these guys hit the brakes, I think Chris Nicely may have caught some draft at the very end there. There's a 5 mile an hour difference in speed. Chris Nicely over at the advantage of Justin Hall. So Justin Hall definitely feeling the pressure now. The gap is down half a second. We are now under 10 minutes left in this race, or roughly about 6 laps. So I think this is going to be the battle. Justin Hall likely feeling the pressure. He needs to do some of his best driving right now, because Chris Nicely is feeling quick, and he's at 3 spots in this race, David. So he would love to see a top 5 finish and take a 4th spot with a very strong drive tonight.
Yeah, it wouldn't be enough to make Knisley the biggest mover, but certainly be a reasonable race if he finished a top 5 here. Up the hill and across the connecting section that forms part of the Patriot course and forms VIR North configuration. Knisley's maybe just a couple car lengths closer than he was a lap ago, but he's not eating the time hand over fist anymore. We'll see. This is now the section that's caught out a lot of people as well. Down the hill, and that whoa, little bit of grass from Hall, holds on to the slide. Quick hands, quick thinking at the bottom of Hogpen. Just uses the curb to keep the car on the road. But Knisley is definitely just a little bit closer.
Yeah, he is. Justin Hall may have been a bit sloppy in that section, but he really found some speed exiting Hogpen there. Chris Nicely got a little bit sloppy as well. But yeah, David, those final sectors for both of them did 20.3 on that final sector. So identical sectors, 2 completely different lines. One a bit sloppy, one taking some dirt, but identical final sectors. So you're just looking to see what some of these alternative lines can do. But Chris Nicely, he is as close as he's been right now. We are now 0.4 of a second as he's coming into the sector where he's been a little tighter than Justin Hall. But Justin Hall, he's not going to give up the spot easy.
No, so we've definitely seen some promise of some good results out of Justin Hall this season. And when the track suits him, he seems to go very well. When it doesn't, he finds himself in that sort of area he is right now, 5th place, battling over 6th. Nicely, just a couple of tenths a lap, closing it in. Now he's there up behind Justin Hall. Needs to be careful to avoid any mistakes. We have 7 minutes of racing left. So if Knisley wants to get this done, it's going to have to happen eventually. It's going to be 5 laps to go for them when they cross the line. out of hog pen this time. So the opportunity's dwindling for Knisley, but again, this is the closest I think he's been to being able to make a move into turn one.
Yeah, I think if there's going to be any aero disadvantage, if there's any sort of thing that's going to slow Justin Hall down, it's going to be the damage on that front bumper right now. But right now, he is holding him door for door on speed. Justin Hall's not going to give this up easy. I think they're probably going to go too wide here. Oh, Chris Nicey almost drops a tire. Almost did it twice into turn one. Justin Hall runs a not preferred line, but he had the shorter route there, and Chris Nicely could not get the job done. And Justin Hall holds on to the spot for one more lap. And Chris Nicely misses the apex again. David, he's a bit out of sorts in this first sector here.
Yeah, that lap just done for Chris Knisley was his personal best of the race. Justin Hall, though, offline onto the dirt, and Knisley comes on through. Now Hall got a bit sideways, got offline. He hasn't lost a great amount of time, but he has let Chris Knisley through. So yeah, both of them a little bit sloppy in the first couple sectors of the lap, but in the end it's Hall with the bigger mistake. Knisley up into fifth. Dare not say that this is over yet, considering how difficult the conditions have looked for everyone. No one's looked particularly flawless, but Knisley is in fifth right now for the moment and only needs to hold on for about 5 more minutes.
Yeah, he does. So this is a good battle on track, and it is down in the field there, but we do have a battle for with a P8 and P9. We've got we've got Michael Ogden and Paul T. Roddy. So these guys are battling for position here. A bit of some cars. So Michael Ogden, both of these guys are up 5 spots. So yeah, let's definitely keep an eye on our battle for P4, P5. But actually, we've got a bit of a gap now. Did Justin Hall have another moment, David?
He must have done so. Hog pen, a difficult corner for everyone, and Hall, I mean, he needed to push hard if he was going to try and get back at 5th place. He's done that, but it's not quite worked. Back live, though, Ogren trying to defend from Paul Roddy into turn 1. Ogren taking the inside line, the defensive line. So Roddy will try to get a later apex, get the throttle open earlier, see if he can effect a move through here. And this is kind of the battle to be who's the biggest mover, because right now Ogren and Roddy are both up 5 spots, but if Roddy gets on by, then Roddy is up 6 spots and Ogren's only going to be up 4. So this is a battle over 8th and 9th, but also the battle to be the biggest mover of the race.
Yeah, these guys are really of equal pace. Excuse me, I was incorrectly looking at some times here, Dave. But yes, these guys are both running very competitive times right now. So last lap for Ogren was 1:45.5. Last time for Paul T. Roddy, 1:45 dead. So likely some drafting help there. But watching Paul Roddy, he's really all about the late apex and diving in. I don't know if that's really the best line for the sector right here. I think coming out of Hogpen, you may get some preferential speed coming out and maybe even turn 1, but he's really late apexing. So you watch Michael Ogren go a bit wide and a bit sweepy on some of those. So let's watch if Paul T. Roddy, we got a car off here. Oh, be careful. Oh, that was car number 2. David Evans is spun again.
Yeah, so he's still going to hold on to 7th place, but Evans struggling there. He's not going to close in on Justin Hall for 6th either. Luckily, no contact between anyone that time. Roddy, though, with a good exit out of the hog pen, and I think Ogren moves the right-hand side of the circuit. He might have to defend into turn 1 again. So, middle of the road for Ogren. Roddy thinks about going all the way down to the inside, but will not do that. Gain going to try and take the later apex, pick the throttle up earlier, but he's not managed to make the move into turn 1. What about here with NASCAR and left hook? He is going to put his car all the way down the inside. Let's be clean. I think Ogren goes a little bit wide there. Roddy is through into 8th place. Was there any door banging there?
No, I didn't see any door banging. Michael Ogren just could. Oh, he almost spins it there, getting back back in shape, and it looks like, yeah, and then David Evans also drives by. So Michael Ogren really just had a heck of a first sector right there, losing 2 spots in a matter of just about 3 corners. So that is not what he wanted right there. But Michael Ogren...
Evans is a lap up on these guys, so that was not for position, but Evans puts Ogren that lap down again.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. But yeah, David Evans, I think, probably driving a bit with the red mist right now. But yeah, Michael Ogren just not his lap right there. Just really striking. I was watching him even kind of drifting now. So this car is clearly upset with its tires, or upset with this driver. Something's going on. But Michael Ogren just having a heck of a time with just under 2 minutes left in this race.
So it becomes a bit more of a slam dunk there for Paul Roddy into 8th place. And as I said, that makes him a biggest mover up 6 places. I don't think Paul Roddy really had a qualifying time though, but moved up through the field a little bit regardless. Top of the field really hasn't changed much. Still John D. Allen about 12 seconds over Albert, who's about 2 seconds over Bueller, with about 5 seconds over Brandon Schoen. Justin Hall hasn't really managed to come back at Chris Knisley either. So a lot of guys just trying to hold on to their position for the last lap and a half on the way to that checkered flag. Speaking of that, I think John D. Allen has just been shown the white flag as he crossed the start-finish line a little bit ago.
Yeah, I believe he has ask our producer to ride along with Johnny Allen on what we believe is his final lap. Just an absolutely dominating drive outside of what we saw on the first lap, where he got a little bit out of shape, gave the fans a bit of a drift. But yeah, just fantastic drive tonight. Really strong outside of that early air. He took fuel, he took tires, and it's just really pulled away. His gap down to Alex Albert is 12.2 seconds as we watch him, again, struggle with a bit of that uphill right-hander there. But John D. Allen continues to show us why he is, an extremely strong driver in this series and grabbing a boatload of points week after week. So what a drive by John D. Allen tonight.
Yeah, certainly. It all looked very, very even, but in hindsight, it looks like that decision to take a new set of tyres at the pit stop really came good for John D. Allen, because after 2 laps, he had the hammer down. He was seconds a lap faster than everyone else. So that definitely looks like it worked for him. He's going to come out the hog pen for the final time to be a winner once again in ChampCar Sim Series. The start-finish line quite a bit of the way down the straight here. He'll be full throttle until he approaches that. He is the winner of round 14 at VIR North. 12 seconds back for Alex Albert, who is going to stay ahead of Alexander Bueller. And Brandon Schoen mixed it up with the big guys this race. In the end, he's looking at 4th place though.
Yeah, he is in. Looks like the title for most position gains is going to go to our car in P8. Paul T. Roddy finished up 6 spots from where he started. So fantastic drive for him tonight. But he was a lap down. So the cars in the lead lap. Chris Knisley up 4 spots tonight, finishing in P5. So David, some really good driving tonight. I'm going to go head out of the booth and see who I can grab for our podium interviews.
And while Aaron is doing that, we've got quite a few more cars that haven't seen the checkered flag just yet. Such was the advantage that John D. Allen had, and a few cars staying on the lead lap but being almost a minute and a half down. Chris Knisley in 5th. He's the next to come to the line. Justin Hall, who he fought so hard with and gave us some great entertainment, is going to be in 6th. Chris Knisley exploring plenty of the grass there after the race and seeing that there is still no grip out there for that. David Evans, Paul T. Roddy, Michael Ogren are about to come across the line, and then we will do a full rundown of the finishing order.
Yeah, so full-on finishing order. John D. Allen started P1, finished P1. Alex Albert started P2, finished P2. Alexander Bueller finished in P3 tonight. Brendan Schoen, P4. Chris Knisley, P5. Justin Hall, P6. David Evans, P7. Paul T. Roddy, P8. Michael Ogren, P9. Rounding out our top 10 is Jacob being in Tyler James down 3 spots tonight, finishing in P11. Jared Douglas in P12. And unfortunately, we did not get a finish out of James Patak, Chris Flamion, and Kiri Morris. So, David, that rounds out our 15-car field. And it looks like John D. Allen is pulling into the pits right now. And, David, I'm going to go do my best to get him up here at the booth.
Here is our winner, John D. Allen, and he is doing some rather victorious burnouts on the exit of pit road. But he's also with Aaron Thacker.
John, congratulations on your win tonight, sir. Very dominant drive, but talk us through what happened in the very first lap there for you. Got a bit drifty going up the uphill right-hander.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, this is the new tire model, and the first experience with it definitely is eye-opening. I think it's more accurate with how it forces you to get tires up to temp, but and we saw some of that. Maybe some of it was the conditions because fog, and maybe it's representing dew, but it was squirrely first couple laps before it kind of comes into its own.
Yeah, and can you talk us about what this new tire feels like? I think everybody was at an equal advantage or disadvantage out there with really only having probably 48 hours on this new tire. How does the tire warm up? How does it feel very early on into a stint?
Greasy, really greasy. Almost like driving slicks in the rain. And then it takes around a longer track like this. It seemed like it took about 2.5 laps to feel pretty.
Well, as always, we enjoy watching the battle between you and Alex Albert. But one thing we did see is that you took tires, and we don't believe Alex Albert took tires. What was your strategy there?
With the new tire model, it was kind of scientific research. I wanted to do the opposite of what he did and just kind of see what effect it had. And I think that's where we figured out it cost me a second to a second and a half over those first 2 laps. And then it didn't make much. So we'll still be figuring that out, I think, for a few rounds.
You bet. Well, John, congratulations on your finish tonight. Congratulations on a nice win, sir. Any thanks or shout-outs before you head out of the booth?
Just as we're coming down to the final few laps, one more round to go. It's been just absolutely a blast being part of this, and appreciate you guys for making it what you do. It's a presentable product and fun to watch back. So looking forward to.
Thank you, John. David, I am scanning the paddock, and it's looking a bit thin down there. Is there anybody else that you can see? Is our P2 driver, Mr. Alex Albert, is he available?
Yes, I think he is. So I've got Alex Albert second place, and of course the big talking point here, a lot of it, the new tires. How are they working for you?
I felt like they were good, more realistic, more true to life. They're definitely tougher. Still struggling to get the ins and the outs of them, but I enjoyed it.
And your strategy there, not taking tires, did the tires still feel okay at the end? Did having the warm tires on the outlap help you?
I kind of wish I would have taken tires, but I just wasn't too sure how it would all work out. Looking back on it, though, I think it was the right call. But for science, I wanted to do a little something different than what John was going to do to see how it played out. But turns out that I think it was still the right call that he made. So.
What about the fueling? We saw almost all of the pit stops around the 28, 29 second time frame. Has the guy with the fuel jug gotten a little bit slower?
No, I feel like the engines got a little bit more thirsty. Typically, in most of the races earlier this season, we would burn right around 3.5 gallons in the first half of the race, or about 7 gallons total. And here we burnt just a little over 8. I think they had burnt 8.1. So it seems like the car's a little bit thirstier than before, causing us to need more gas at the stop. I had a hard time making it to halfway.
That's some interesting insight there. So maybe not just the tires that have changed up a little bit on us since last round.
Oh, for sure, and also the grass is much slicker now. As you've seen in the past, we'll run through the grass and keep it pinned to the floor, but that's just not possible anymore. If you just touch the grass lightly, it really has an effect, which is more realistic. So glad to see that change.
Well, lastly, John takes the big win away from this round. We've got one round left to go. What does it take for you to still be in contention?
Just gonna have to go and try to have the best race we can. I know John will be there, so gonna try to put in some time, maybe get a little better on these tires, and see if we can come up with something for him. Maybe you never know. Maybe luck will strike and a lapper will intervene, but never know. It's racing. That's why we run them.
Right. Well, thanks so much for speaking to us once again, and we look forward to seeing you for the final round at Laguna Seca.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, and thanks for the broadcast.
Well, there we go. I think that's just about everyone we need to talk to after this race. And again, John D. Allen puts on not an incredibly dominant performance, but he did just look too strong for everyone else. He takes the big points as we head towards our final round, like I said, at Laguna Seca in a couple of weeks' time. And then someone will be awarded that free entry into a ChampCar Endurance Series race that is so very well prized and very, very valuable indeed. So do join us for that one. We look forward to seeing you then. On behalf of myself, Michael Derby, Aaron Thacker, and everyone from Team Huge Ass, thank you for watching. We'll catch you around soon. Good night. Hi, it's iRacing commentator David Haynes. In 2019, I'm excited to be bringing coverage of the ChampCar Sim Series, the sim racing division of the ChampCar Endurance Series. Contested across 15 championship rounds using the 2015 Mazda MX-5, the winners will receive a free entry into a real ChampCar Endurance Series race in the 2020 season. Each points round will be broadcast live by HJBC. Head to forum.champcar.org for full information and schedule. Sign-ups are open, so get registered now. Best of luck, and I'll see you at the track.